We're like, nah, we don't need that.
She's silly or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're just going to do a podcast, but what's a sound check?
Yeah. So we've gathered that basically this is essentially a podcast, but that we have the video option available, or the live option, which is very different.
Yes.
I also gathered this is a very real and raw conversation that happens because it's live.
I would also agree.
Get snipped, like,
yes.
Yeah. So very interesting. But we just wanted to chat about life, basically, and shoot the shit. Some things like kind of happened recently, so we're like, damn, just thinking about life. Plus last night we had a conversation about pretty much life in general. I don't know, I feel like it was a pretty vast conversation. It
was very long. I think so. After our stream we were like kind of chatting, and we ended our stream at like 9:53, and
a precise time.
It's because I was just looking at like the stream statistic, and it like tells you, you know, it was like 7:25 to 9:23 or 9:53 was our stream time last night. Anyway, so basically the point is that we ended our stream at 9:53, and we chatted till like almost like 12:45 at night. So
yeah, it was actually wild.
Yeah, it was quite a long time.
But we were talking earlier, and we were like, we haven't had a conversation like that, I think, at that capacity for a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. So, yeah, it was like a conversation about, damn, I don't even know how it started, really.
I don't even really know either, actually.
I almost want to say it was like boys, but I also don't want to give them that much credit. You know what I mean? Was it?
I don't remember. No, I don't know. That wasn't what it was about.
You know what it is?
Go ahead.
Go.
What are you going to say?
I think it was about streaming,
It was,
it?
yeah, it was. Okay,
like,
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Like, am I getting friend checked or fact checked?
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's what it was. We were talking about streaming.
We were talking about streaming.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a more behind the scenes thing, but
yeah.
You know, once we finalize things, we'll let you know.
Yeah, how that goes.
But yeah, I don't know how that carried over into everything else. It just became...
I agree.
I don't know. I don't know that there was a real through line there. It was like we talked about streaming, then we talked about boys, then we talked about people, then we talked about, I don't even know, like traumas or things.
We did talk about a lot of things, yes.
Yeah.
And like I think it was just one of those like very natural conversations that just goes from one thing to the next. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's just
your favorite. Or most insightful thing that we talked about. Or maybe did you have any breakthroughs where you're like, whoa, I discovered something about myself? Or
wow, you're really like putting me on the spot here. I would probably say, I don't know. I'm like, wow. I really want to be like really raw on these, but I'm also like, how much do I out myself?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I feel like it's one of those things where once you're here, because I've debated the same thing, like how open, how honest do I be, how much information do I really
want to give, right? Yeah,
even just in the streams where we're like playing games, you know.
Yeah,
but I think it's kind of like you're here now. It's kind of like if you go to the pool and you don't get in, you know.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
Yeah,
which, you know, everything to a certain degree, you know, if you're not comfortable either, like, keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, the thing is that we talked a lot about relationships, and not necessarily just romantic ones, but just, like, friendships, too, I think. And, you know, it's just one of those things where it's interesting how much you learn from certain relationships, even years after they've ended, right?
Oh my God. Actually, now that we're going there, we can kind of tell a story about a friend both of us had.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a friend for, man, I don't even know, years. Like, yeah.
Like 5 years almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm not sure how to really like explain this. At some point I was like, hey, you're always around. We always hang out. Hi. We always hang out, but like, I don't really feel like I know anything about you except for the surface level stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, obviously I'm not opposed to that, but like, I just wanted you to know if you ever wanted to become closer, like, this is what bothers me.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to describe the response I got back?
So I think before we do that, we have to go like a little farther back in the story time.
Okay,
so
okay.
I think, so probably everybody can relate to this, but you know how you have like, well, maybe not, but you know how you have like that one friend in your group of friends that you're kind of like, like I don't really know that I like vibe with this person, but they're kind of always around and they're always invited to everything because like,
you know, when you're younger, you don't really like analyze your friendships. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, we hang out, we shoot the shit, like we're friends.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, we're friends,
and
right?
that was kind of the situation.
So I think as you start to get older and you start to kind of grow and develop and create your own opinions about things.
You mean closer as a friend? No, just like more like instead of like surface level friends, we would be friends like how me and JDA are. We're best friends. And I'm like, hey, but the only reason JDA and I are friends like this is because I would tell him like, oh, I'm having problems with this or I'm having problems with this, the very surface level thing. And JDA would ask me, well, why is that? Like, why is it like that, and
why do you have that problem?
You know what I mean?
Right?
Like he would inquire more.
There's some like genuine interest.
Yeah, there's a definite genuine interest
in investing in the friendship, right? So I guess when we say surface level friends, like what we mean is like people that maybe show up to your party, but they're not, and you know them and you have a lot of memories with them, but they're not somebody that you would sit down on the couch and be like, hey, I'm having these like major issues in my life. Like, can you give me advice, right?
Yeah.
And like vice versa. So
that's what I mean by a closer friend. Like somebody you could really like be like, hey, so this is happening with my life. I want to do this with my job, or I want to do this, you know, like instead of being like, so I watched this video the other day and oh my God, it was crazy. Did you see the latest celeb? Like
did you see like the newest TikTok? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think like, but so this was like a relationship that kind of developed in high school, like as a friend. And then as you get older and you start to like branch out and you start to learn new things and you start to have new interests and things like that, you realize that you kind of start to grow apart from people. And I don't think that always necessarily has to happen. I think that like you can grow together, but that doesn't always happen, you know? And so it gets to a point where like you kind of start to question like, why do I have this person in my life?
Yeah.
You know,
it's just because they're always like, they've always been invited.
There. They've always been there. So you're like, you don't really think anything of it, but then you have to stop and ask yourself like, what value is this person really bringing to the table of this friendship? Like, do I feel like I could call this person if I had a problem? Like, do I feel like I really could talk to this person without them making every conversation about them?
Or feel judged.
Or feel judged, right? Yeah. So I think that basically this relationship that we're talking about. Friendship, yeah.
Platonic friendship.
Platonic friendship. That's kind of what happened. And so I think it's kind of like, hey, when I'm around you, you kind of always make me feel shitty. Yeah. Like, and
don't know if it's intentional.
This
is why. Not sure if you ever meant for it to be that way, but hopefully we can clear the air because this has always been on my mind. And it was something, sorry, my hair is doing things. And it was something that we would even talk about. Like, we would be fresh off of a hangout and be like, wow, did you realize that they kind of threw me under the bus there?
Yeah.
And it was just like, after a while, you were like, why is it like that every single time we hang out? You know, like,
or it was like it would be the end of like a get together and I'd be like, he talked the whole time.
Yeah, about himself.
And
didn't ask us anything.
You know? And it's kind of just, and basically the bottom line is it's one of those friends that is always trying to one-up you, always trying to have like the nicer things, always trying to be like, oh, well, you did this, well, I did this thing. You know what I mean? Or, oh, well, you have that thing, well, I have this thing. You know? And I guess at some point you just have to stop and question like, what type of value is this person bringing to my life?
Yeah.
You know?
And that's kind of where I got the point of, because it became, after like every hangout, it would be that way. And we had talked about it so much, not to the point where we're like, oh, we love to talk about people behind their backs, but it was more like, I'm getting this weird feeling when I hang out with him. And then he was like, actually, I get that weird feeling too. And then we would talk to other people and it would kind of be the same. And we'd be like, oh, so I'm not crazy.
Yes.
They said narcissistic. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Definitely.
You're
that was
correct.
definitely the situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically I was like, let me try to be like this vulnerable version of myself, because I don't want it to come off as bitchy. I don't want it to come off as like, why do you, it says hyper competitive. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Anytime we would try to do something, they would be like, yeah, so I'm gonna do this one step better than you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't think that JDA and I are like competitive like that. So it was just very weird for us to even
be in that dynamic.
Yeah, we were like,
yeah.
Oh, like, I don't know why you would think that.
And sometimes, and in the moment, you don't know how to act, because it's like, for example...
You're so shocked.
For example, you could be like, and this is just a random example, you could be like, oh, hey, like, check out these new really cool Nike shoes that I really love. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, yeah, those are cool. Like, the other day, like, I got these Gucci shoes that I really love. And it's like... oh, okay, like
Whoa.
that, okay, like cool, like you know, I'm like, good for you, like, you know what I mean.
Anyway, going back to the thing, we were I was like, let me try to come from like a vulnerable like
place,
nice, like I'm not trying to like cut into you, like text message. It was actually pretty long, and I sent him multiple drafts and I tried to make it as nice as possible. And basically the response that I got was basically like, I was getting ripped into, and it was like, I never thought of you as a friend that I would want to like confide in. So like, why would, I don't even remember honestly at this point. I just remember being so shocked because I had spent so much time trying to like make it sound like genuine and like super nice, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
not because it wasn't nice, but because I didn't want it to sound like
bitchy,
aggressive.
Well, and I think basically the preface, I remember it, I think the preface of the whole text was like, hey, like, you make me feel this way, like, sometimes, and sometimes you make me like not feel the best, like really just being open and honest to say like, hey, sometimes you don't make me feel the best, like, you know, and I feel like we are very surface level friends. And I think you even left the door open to be like, hey, like, I want to get to know you better.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to like get to know you on a different level than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like, if you're up for it, then I am too.
Yeah.
These are the only things that would make it tough, or
like, or prohibit me from getting closer to you.
Yeah.
And basically they were like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've always considered us just to be surface level friends.
Yeah.
Like, basically, like, I don't think we have that much in common. Basically, like, came for you.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, we don't have that much in common. Like, why would we be closer? Like, I don't get it. Mm-hmm. And I think the point is that, like, what was getting lost in translation was like, I meaning you, don't want to have surface level friends in my life. Like, the people that I have around me, I want
to be solid, basically.
To be solid. I want you to care for me. I want, you know, me to be able to care for you. Like, I want us to be here for each other. Like, but that hasn't been the case.
Yeah.
You know? And basically what they said was like, no, I would rather not. Like, let's just basically like not talk or something.
Chat says, why didn't you just ghost them and give constructive feedback?
I think it's because, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that's a good question. The way I would interpret that...
I don't think that person was ever open to constructive feedback.
No, because that's basically what they got. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically what you gave them was constructive feedback.
Yeah,
I think it's because... it's hard to ghost somebody when you're in a dynamic of a whole friend group, right?
It was like...
Because it's like, if they're a part of your inner circle or like your friend group, and there's like, let's just say 8 of you or something.
I'm like, how
which
many
ours
people?
was like 8 or 9 people.
Yeah, 8 or something.
Like, of like our inner close circle of friends. it's hard to like ghost one person because all 8 of you are all friends with each other. So it's like I can choose to ghost somebody in that group, but that doesn't mean that they're never going to be around because other people may invite them to their birthday. And if somebody else in the group is like, hey, I'm going to invite X person to my birthday party, I'm not going to tell my friend, hey, don't invite them because I can't fucking stand them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not my place. So it's like hard to ghost somebody. And so I think basically what she was trying to do for the sake of
everyone else too, me.
Everyone else in the group to say, hey, like, this is really between you and me. Like, I have this issue.
Yeah.
Like, we should work it out. And they're basically like, no.
Yeah.
You know?
Which,
sorry.
No, you're good. I was like vibrate. On the other end of that, I was shocked at first because I was like, oh, by this point we had spent like 4 or 5+ years as friends and collected so many memories and stuff over the time that I was like, wow, I wish I had known this about this friend like sooner so that I would have made room for better friends, you know, instead of wasting this space or time or whatever. And I'm not saying like that friendship was a waste, but it was like, if it wasn't going to be anything like constructive, you know what I mean? Like, why have it around just to like occupy a space that could be filled by a better friendship, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I almost wish that it had been sooner, you know? So that's what happened with that. It was a very interesting experience. And then I was like, oh wow, like it makes me go over the memories and the times that we all had with each other. It makes me like rethink them all, you know?
Yeah.
Like all the stuff that had happened, which wasn't a lot. Like I said, we were all surface level friends, but I'm like, oh, even that feels weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all that to say, there is no shortage of things like that happening out here.
Yeah, out here in these streets.
Mm-hmm.
You can read better. You're closer to the screen than me.
How did they handle your feedback? Were they furious? It seemed like it.
Okay, let's just be honest. They were kind of bitchy.
They were definitely bitchy. Dog.
It's like my watch like keeps going off. Like, leave me alone. Here, I'm gonna put my watch on mute too. God.
Were they furious? Yeah. I mean, I think that definitely like the tone of the whole response back was aggressive.
It was very aggressive.
Definitely aggressive.
And the funny thing is that
the sad part is we sat over my drafted message. I'm not even joking, probably for at least an hour.
And I was like, and I even remember I even told you.
Let's be really honest. The first message that I had drafted was really bitchy.
Yes.
And then I was like, nah, let's change it. And then I would like edit it multiple times. And then I finally got to the very soft teddy bear like response.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I think this is good. This says, I think we all have such friends, but you were really nice in handling it. Oh yeah, I tried to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's what, and I think that's
really, I was like trying to go into the situation without being like, wow, I fucked up. You know, like I wanted to be like, yes, I could say all this mean stuff just to like get a dig in, but like, why? You know, if I'm trying to like, create this friendship that I supposedly want, which I did, like, let me come at this from like a positive angle and try to be like, hey, like, I think there's this weird, like, tension between us that's, like, you're always trying to make things better than, you know, or trying to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And not in, like, a self-growth way, but, like, a status-y way.
Yeah. And I think we were almost like expecting it, right? Because I think before you even sent it, we were like, okay, this could go one of two ways. Either they're going to be very receptive and they're going to be like, oh, wow, like I apologize. Like I didn't mean.
It was such a coin toss.
I didn't know that I was making you feel that way. Like I apologize. Like that was never my intention.
Yeah.
Like, of course I want to like try to like work on this. We've known each other for 5 years. We've been here for birthdays and we've traveled the world together internationally. Like, of course, like, yeah, I apologize. I want to work this out. Yeah. Or it could have been like, what are you talking about? Like, no, like that's not the case. Like, you're making this up. Like, and unfortunately it went the not so great way. Like,
so yeah, it was definitely a coin toss. I remember being nervous, but also like anxious to see like what the response was going to be, because I was like, honestly, I've been sitting on this idea for a while. Like, it's time to know instead of like question. But yeah.
But was it worth it? Is that what that says?
Oh, but was it worth it? I would have just ignored them and stopped talking over time. That's kind of what happened. Too close.
But that's also kind of what happened, though, because like I think we had realized. But
they would call us up and be like, "Hey, you want to hang out? We're gonna do this." Remember, I told you we had this like one whole day where they like wouldn't leave.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I was like, "Wow, they just like." And like at the time I was in a relationship, and I was like, I think we had gone to like eat or something, and then we were like, okay, well, see you later, we're gonna go ahead to Barnes and Noble. And they were like, we're gonna go to Barnes and Noble. And then I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, well, we gotta go to the store. And he's like, oh, well, we gotta go to the store. And then we went back to my like ex and I's apartment. They were like, yeah, let's go watch something. And it was like, oh my God, they don't leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that was, I think, in my head, one of the last like times that I hung out with them. Yeah.
I agree. And I think, like I said, I think it's one of those things where it was in a group dynamic. So, you know, I feel like you don't want to like completely like dismantle the whole group with like one situation. But I think it's just like, I guess like the moral of the story is that like, have people in your life that genuinely care and that are going to bring value to your life, because
why else?
Why else? Like why? There? Yeah. And what's crazy about this? So I had actually asked one of my coworkers this like a while back, and I was like,
"This is a good one."
And I said, I asked her, I said, "Do you think it's possible to have too many friends?" And she was like, "Well, no." She was like, "Why? How is it possible to have too many friends?" And I was like, well, I feel like to me, I have a certain standard that I want to uphold as a friend to somebody. I want to be able to be there for you and support you and like really not be surface level and get down to like the deep things and really get to know you and like, you know what I mean? And I want to be a good friend. And
that's
I feel
not
like
saying that like every single friendship can be that way.
Yeah.
It's if it was like that, then there would be nothing special about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was like, so you don't think it's possible to, but basically my point of asking the question was like, I feel like almost like if I had like a friend group of like 50 people or something like that, then I don't feel like I could like really be a genuine friend to all 50 of those people. Right. Like I almost feel like I would be spreading myself a little too thin.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to show up for those people, but also show up for myself too. You know, I don't want to just like be out here living everybody else's life. Like, so
you're like, oh, I got 5 birthday parties this weekend.
Yeah. That I have to like go to.
And that I all have to like, you know, they're all at the same time or something, you know, gotta like stretch myself out.
And so she was like, no, I don't think it's possible to have too many friends. And I said, okay, well then what's your definition of like a friend? And she was like, well, like basically her definition of, and I'm not dragging her, love her, but like she was basically like, my definition of a friend is somebody that I know. And I was like,
so the chat says, have you ever had friends that tried to be too close, but you weren't ready for it? Huh. Let me think.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Yes.
Are we thinking of the same situation?
I'm thinking of a lot of situations, actually. I guess I've never had that question asked to me like that before.
I know. Okay, well, you start. I want to know if they're the same.
So I feel like I've had a lot of situations like that where... I'm sorry.
Because I think we might be thinking of the same. Sorry. We've been friends for a while, so we've encountered a lot. Okay, go.
Yeah, okay, so I think I've had a lot of situations where...
I think it is the same. Okay, go.
Okay. So
you're matching your hair now.
I know, that was so funny. I think I've had a lot of situations where yes, people have like tried to be friends with me, and I'm like,
you're like, ew, stop.
Yeah, well, not like ew, stop, but more so like, oh, we're on that level, right? I'm like, oh, like you're telling me about like your.
Oh yes,
like
actually, this happens a lot.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Actually, this happens a lot.
I think we've seen like we've seen like psychics and stuff that tell us like people just vent to you just because, and you'll be like, whoa, like I didn't need to know all that. That actually happens to both of us a lot.
Yeah. And so I'm like, sometimes I'm out here feeling like I'm the people's therapist, and I'm like, yeah,
and I'm like, why me? Like,
yeah, but I also think it's like people are like, oh, hey, like come to my thing, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that we were like that close. I'm like, you don't have like anybody else you could invite? Like,
yeah, actually, yeah, this has happened.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like sure, but like, yeah, I just feel like a lot of people do that, and I also feel like,
well, I think what happens with that is we all, just like how we were talking about just now, like I think we all have different definitions of what a friend should be, you know? Like,
yeah.
Because some people, like I have even coworkers that I talk to because I literally, you know, before like quarantine, like I would see every day, but that doesn't qualify in my book as like a friend. You know what I mean? Like we are coworkers. Like I see you every day because I have to.
Yeah.
But they're like, come to my thing, come to this, come to that, and maybe like I want like a deeper version of a friendship than seeing you all the time. It's kind of like when you're in school and you're like friends with the person that you sit next to for like that 6 months or the year, sorry. And then you go the next year and you don't sit next to them and then y'all don't talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is like, that's not really, that's just like an acquaintance or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, but like you said, I think a lot of people have different definitions of friendships because there's people that I feel like I have an acquaintance with, and then they'll be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm inviting you because we're friends. And I'm like, oh, we are? And I don't mean that in like a bitchy way. Mm-hmm. I just like, I mean that more so in the sense of like, you know what I mean? Because I also think, to kind of answer your question, I think that those types of things have to happen naturally.
Yeah.
Over time. And
I've literally had somebody ask me like, hey, I know we hang out sometimes, but would you consider us best friends? And I'm like, what? It's kind of weird to like ask somebody that.
Yeah, that we have talked about that before, where it's like it's almost weird to like ask somebody like, "Hey, are we best friends?"
Or even just like, "Hey, do you consider us friends?" Like, you know, like, what do you think? Like,
yeah, like I'm like, I mean, I know my opinion. You know, yeah, it's weird. I think it's definitely weird.
I think the situation we were both laughing at was, wait, you say yours.
Well, mine's more general. Like, I'm not trying to like out anybody, but basically, like, I think yes, that has happened to me. I think people have tried to become friends with me, honestly, for the wrong reasons. I think
for what?
For like like for
you don't have to say it if you don't
like
want to.
You know how if you walk into new situations or new dynamics and like people are like
chat says, talking about coworkers, I'm from India and it's common to have coworkers as friends, but I've heard that it isn't very common in America. Is that true? I mean, I think that's like different, like we're saying about friends and like somebody's definition of a friend. I feel like that's different for every person, but I think they try to do stuff like that. They're always like, oh, we're going to do a happy hour. We're going to do an event. We're going to have this thing where everybody comes and hangs out. And I think like the intention of everybody being friends is there, or being at least friendly with each other. But that doesn't mean like, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm having my housewarming party, or I'm having a dinner, like come over.
Yeah, I also think that it's weird because the culture in America is very odd, because workplaces, like, let's just get into it. Workplaces want you to be friends with the people that you work with, but then they don't at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, they want you to be friends, but they don't want you to be too good of friends.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Then they'll be like, oh, y'all are always like,
oh, like you both get called into the office, the HR office, and they're like, you two are at each other's desks a little too much. And it's like for example, actually, this is a good example. So my coworker that I share an office with somebody, right? And there's another girl there that we're very good friends with as well. And we've gotten in trouble before because they're like, all of y'all are always together. Y'all are always in the same office talking, like this and this and that. And it's like, okay, so you're complaining that we are talking and that we're friends. What would you rather the alternative be? Us to come in and like hate each other every day? What's the alternative? So it's weird. It's like, so you want us all to you have a meeting with me one week saying that, why can't we all get along? And we need to be more social. We need to be more social, and like there needs to not be so much drama. But then you're calling me in a week later to say, we have a problem with y'all all hanging out too much. And it's like,
or leaving people out or something.
Or leaving people out.
You can't, I don't know.
And it's like, so do you not want me to be friends, or do you want me to be friends? So the culture in America, I feel like as far as coworkers as friends, is very odd.
Yeah, they said, because you're suddenly having too many water cooler moments like that.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so weird. They like want you to be, I mean, I guess I've never thought of it that way, but that's definitely true. They're like, yes, we want you to have a little like social moment, but also like reel it in.
So and that's what, when at my job at least, that would always frustrate me, because I'm like, you're telling me that we're almost too good of friends. But I'm like, but then it's weird because it's like, can you really tell me like not to be friends with somebody? Like it's like kind of weird, you know? And I've literally asked my boss that before. I'm like, so what would you prefer the alternative to be? That we just don't talk? Like, that we hate each other? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And honestly, I haven't had to think too much about coworkers in a while because like in quarantine, like I haven't really seen them.
Here, we're still like working from home and stuff like that. So
so thankfully that's less of a problem now.
I would agree.
Oh man.
But I think people all have different definitions of friendships, and I think you have to kind of like walk that line. But I think also part of being a good friend to somebody is aligning with ways of looking at things, right? Mm-hmm. Like if her and me obviously are very close because to an extent we have the same idea of what we consider a friend to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why we click. And we may click with somebody else that has the same idea of a friendship as we have. Like, and so I think that is also like the problem. So it's like when people are like, oh, we're really close, I'm like, we are? Because I don't think we are. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, they had made some comment about my personality, and I was like, really? But how would you know that? Because we don't even talk that much. And they were like, yes, we do. And I'm like, no, we don't. Like, and so their definition of us being close and talking all the time was way different than what I would consider that to be. So I think that can happen a lot, actually.
Because, I mean, let's be honest, everybody sees their life from your own point of view. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way, even if we like think the same and see the exact same thing, that doesn't mean we're experiencing it the exact same way. Does that make sense?
Oh, exactly. And this brings up another good point,
just
too.
Just as, like, if you and I went to go see a movie, we're watching the same thing, but our opinions on it are going to be possibly different.
Different. And this brings up another good point, because that we were just talking about as well. This is a good segue.
Oh.
So
I was like, I got lost in the sauce.
This brings up a good point. So, like, you can be friends with somebody, or you can know people, I guess is a better way to put it. You can know people that have the same ideals as you, that have the same opinions as you, maybe necessarily. But that doesn't mean that you all live your lives different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, you're saying if you can think and believe the same things, but that doesn't mean you actually live your day-to-day life the same.
Same. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, how do I transition? I mean, you got us there.
Yeah.
So that was a thing that I've noticed recently. No matter how, like, I don't know. How do we say this? How do you say it and not say it? But it's also like,
yeah,
like I said, we're at the pool, somebody will get in. You know,
yeah,
like,
you might as well jump in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you take the lead on that one because
you said
you're more invested in that than I am.
I just like, so basically the reason that we were talking about the old friendship and how, you know, like you can have a friendship and then I guess have like an opinion about it, or at some point it changes, you know? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it seems like even as you get older and you start to be more...
What's happening?
You start to be more wise with like how you're choosing your friendships and who you choose and like what you're like investing in. It still doesn't take out the possibility for stuff like that to happen where you're like, oh, I thought our friendship was this, and you're seeing it as something else. And, you know, there's like this miscommunication. Chat says, what is one thing that would make somebody your friend instantly? Well, that's probably us, right?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing really that made us friends instantly was we both were like, our birthdays are coming up. And then we were like, wait. And then I think right after that, it was kind of like a progression of chats. Plus, it was like a combination of we had a class together when we were in high school. So we saw each other every day, right?
Yeah.
So boom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like instant friends are interesting because, I mean, I feel like for both of us, it's almost like we're always making comments at things, you know, like, oh, that was so annoying. And somebody could be like, oh, that was so annoying too. And then I would say typically that's our instant friend, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think that's one of those. What about you? What would make somebody your friend instantly?
I'm going to be honest. I don't feel like that would happen.
Really?
Yeah, no. I don't really feel like that would happen.
Yeah.
Because, like, even in our situation, like, I was like, wait, when's your birthday? And you were like, oh, this day. And I was like, wait, that's my birthday. And it was like, oh, cool. But I wouldn't say that like made us friends. You know what I mean? I think that was like almost like what you would consider like an icebreaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I don't think that like we ended up being friends because of that. Yeah. You know? I don't even think that I actually got your phone number and we started actually talking until like months after that. Yeah. And that was just because we had happened to have a project together in that same class or something.
True.
But like, yeah, I don't think that like... I don't know.
You're like, nobody just instantly crosses
like,
that.
That's an interesting question, though. I'm like, is there like a love at first sight equivalent to a friendship? Like, I'm like, now I'm thinking, like, what would that be?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think off like the top of my head, like a friendship that just kind of happened.
Because I'm trying to think of like maybe all the things that I'm interested in, but that doesn't even really matter because I'm like, I'm into cooking and I could like meet somebody else and they could be like, they could meet somebody else and be like, that's really into cooking. And I could be like, oh, you're into cooking too? So am I. But they could turn out to be an asshole or something like, so I don't know.
Oh, well, that's kind of our point though. With like, you could say, oh my God, we could like the same TV show and still not be good enough to vibe as friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what I was talking about, is like you can even have the same belief systems, you can look at the world the same way, you can like, you know what I mean, and still be like, you just won't vibe. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't think nothing like I don't think anything would.
Damn. What does chat think? What would make somebody your instant friend?
Yeah.
I'm more like interested to hear somebody else on that. I'm like, damn, does that happen for other people?
Yeah, I'm curious too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think like...
Do you feel that as you get older, it becomes more and more difficult to make friends?
Sounds
like, go off.
I would say yes. I think it is too. I think when you're younger, like... your world is so much smaller, right? So like, you're like, for example, you're like, oh wait, you like that show? Oh, me too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh. But as you get older, it's more like, oh, you like that show? Yeah, so does you and 10,000 other people. You know what I mean? Like, I think you just have like less, I don't want to say you have less standards. I just think like when you're an adult, like you just almost have a lot more that you're looking for. You know
Sounds
what I mean?
like a relationship, but it is like a friendship is like a relationship, obviously not in the romantic sense, but
yeah, and you're just not having sex.
Chat says maybe interest, but I would side with JD. It's difficult to become instant friends. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know like what would make me like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, I don't know. I guess there would be things where if somebody was like, for example, if I met somebody on the street and they spouted off some opinion that, like, I hold very strongly to believe too, I would be like, wow, I feel the very same way. You know what I mean? Which would almost, like, make me, like, it would pique my interest. Maybe I may be like, like,
definitely.
They think the same exact way I do. Like, I actually don't mind you.
Agreed.
Like, you know what I mean? So I guess, like, yes, I do think that, like, you could have something happen to where that connects you to that person, but would I consider that person my best friend the same day? Probably not. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah.
What were we saying before that? I forgot.
We were trying to basically talk shit with like, but tiptoeing around it. Basically, like, there's been like some incidents lately where there's
just a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, and some miscommunication and like a lot of like misunderstanding.
Yeah.
With friends.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of one of those unfortunate things, but it's almost like I think it's very odd to like hold on to things that you know aren't serving you. You know, and I think that's something that you learn along the way, kind of like we were saying earlier with that other old friend that we had. I think that was the aha moment in our life to say, like, why are we having people in our life that aren't bringing any value to us? So now at this point in our life, we've learned that lesson. We've come to that realization. Yeah. Now we have that knowledge. So it's like, it's almost like not even second nature to us to say like, but like
that is done.
That's done. Like, and it's not that we're a cold-hearted bitch or something. It's just like it's just like you get so much like, I don't know, like energy per day, and you kind of spend it like on things. Like I spend so much energy talking to you. I spend so much energy like doing my job, you know, and then I spend so much energy possibly streaming or watching TV or like whatever, you know? Yeah.
And so like to spend X amount of energy on a certain person over a span of time and then be like, oh yeah, that was actually like nothing or trash, you know, whatever you want to say, like not really worth it. It's kind of like, damn, like I just did all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And what's also interesting to me is like in this situation, it's almost like, and I was watching a little bit of somebody else's stream earlier, and I guess I'll shout him out, but like Big Papa ETJ on like Twitch was talking about like, if you have something to say to me, like my DMs are open, you have my phone number, like call me, like text me, say something, like if you have a problem with me, but like don't go around and like, you know what I mean? Like go and chit chat with other people or whatever, and then do a thing and like be indirect about it. And maybe that's because I'm very like, I like straight shooting like information and like direct conversation, and I hold that like really high in my friendships, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even in relationships, like I'm like, oh, just tell me the thing, like what's bothering you,
be
you know?
honest with me. Just be upfront about it. And
I think that which is kind of what like the Twitch streamer I was just talking about, he's like, well, like what, like you have every avenue available to like say something, so like why go and kind of like be messy in that way, like indirectly. Yeah.
And I think that's just like a general rule of thumb for everybody. It's like if you have a problem, then you should go approach the person that you're having a problem with. Like, there's no need to like go out and about and like talk about it with everybody else. Like, especially these days where it's like it's like you're having to fucking write a handwritten letter. Like, you know,
send the pigeon or the dove or whatever with the letter.
Like no.
Can you live without any friends? What would that be like?
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think so.
In this, I don't mean this in like a bitchy way, but like, when you, what's the like new favorite term? Like, it's lonely at the top, right?
Oh my God.
Like if you're on like a higher frequency of like thinking, you're not gonna have people that are gonna be able to
meet you there all the time.
And so I think it is hard to find friends. I think for me, it's like always like quality over quantity. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I would rather have 3 people in my life that I'm very close with, that I can like really connect with, than have 60 people in a friend group that I hardly even know.
Yeah.
You know?
I think one thing that for me changed a lot of things is when I noticed that most of the people that I would talk to were kind of like, the only reason we would like talk about anything, it was we were always complaining about something. And then it's always when you get to a point when you're like happy with your life, you're like, you know, I'm just going to use like a bunch of examples at this point. Like, I'm happy with where I live. I'm happy with my job. I'm happy with my hobbies. I'm happy with my relationship and my friendships. Other people are like, like you're braggy. And it's like, it's not that you're braggy. You just don't have anything to talk shit about anymore. When, if your relationship or your friendship is built on talking shit, like, and you don't have anything to talk shit about because you actually feel good, they're going to be like, like, what happened to you? Like, why are you like not complaining anymore? It's because like, first of all, complaining all the time is like so exhausting, you know? And if you have a friendship where that's literally all you do, like, what is the meat and potatoes of the friendship? Like nothing, like just, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I had to reevaluate that. And
at that point, you're just trauma bonding.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by like, it's lonely at the top, because if you're happier and you're like, oh, cool, and you like find people that you can like still be like, yeah, this stuff is going on, instead of being like, oh, why are you bragging? Or it's not even bragging, it's more like, I can't even share my life with you because you're so unhappy with yours.
And I think that's important to explain. It's like when we say at the top, we don't mean like a conventional sense of like
money
being successful, like where you have all this money and you're rich and successful. I think it's more like when you're at it, yeah, the top is like a mindset. When you're at a place in your life where you're like, I'm very comfortable with where I'm at. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be with people that aren't like that.
Yeah.
You know?
And it is really tough to be around people that are like, you know, only see negative.
Yeah.
Chat says, sometimes it was communication. I felt a doubt that what I tell them set up an image in their mind that I might regret, or maybe who I'm not. Is that possible? Do you guys ever feel that? Like, I do think sometimes, like, whenever I show sides of myself, I don't know if I'm showing the entire version of myself, or is it just like, am I showing only my negative side? Am I showing my positive side too? Am I showing, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Am I showing something? Because if I start a friendship and I'm like, wow, this place sucks, you know, and I start this like negative talk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't show who I can be when I'm positive. So if that person sees me positive, they're gonna be like, who are you?
Yeah, but that's an interesting question. I'm interested to like, for you to elaborate a little bit more, like almost kind of like give me an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm like,
it says, what would I tell them? Set up an image in their mind that I might possibly regret.
And I guess that's where I'm confused. Like, give me an example.
He said, yeah.
Of like what you're talking about. Like, do you mean like you're talking about like maybe talking about something that's like really positive in your life, and you're like, oh, I don't want this person to think that I'm like stuck up.
I feel
is
like
that kind of what you're talking about?
An easy version that I'm thinking of in my head is like, say you like some pop artist, say Ariana Grande. Like, if you're like, yeah, I love Ariana Grande, to this person that's never met you, they're gonna be like, wow, all you do is love pop music. You're one of those like,
oh,
top
I know what type
people.
of person you are.
Yeah, you're one of those top 40 people. You have no taste, you know, or something. I love Ariana Grande, by the way. You know what I mean? Instead of showing like, maybe that's what you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say, I think we all have those things.
Yeah, it's almost like
right?
a fear of being like, ooh, like, but I don't want to come off as...
We were just talking about this the other day, but like, obviously, if you follow me on Instagram or you follow me on social media, you know that I'm a big fan of like Taylor Swift. And somebody told me the other day,
it says mostly showing up as a loser. You're not a loser.
No.
It's a mindset.
Yeah. But I think, basically when you crib about things. Was that a typo or did you mean crib? I don't know. But yeah.
Were you saying Taylor Swift?
Yeah, like I think like somebody told me the other day, like, oh, like I'm shocked that you say on like your socials or you post a lot about Taylor Swift because like that's not a popular person to like, you know? And I'm like, yeah, but like that's me, you know what I mean? Like that's like my authentic self. So like maybe do I think people have a perception of me because I like her? Yes, but like who cares?
Chat says like your job or family or something that you might be judged about.
Oh.
I feel like
but
the thing about those is like if somebody can't accept who you are as a person or your job or your family or you know like those things, I would almost consider those to be surface level, like outside shiny things, you know what I mean? Like if I have to have the fancy job for you to like think something about me, that tells me something about you, you know? Like if you're gonna cringe at my job, like then I probably don't want you in my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was gonna say too. Like this may be like a little too forward, but it's like if that shit is what makes you happy, then like who cares? You know what I mean? Like
and I think there's like different levels of what people find as important, you know, like what we're saying is I want like a deeper friendship where I can talk about things. And if some people like the old friend that we had, all they wanted in a friendship was somebody showy that had like the coolest thing on, you know, it didn't really matter who they were on the inside. Like at all. It was all outside visual stuff.
Like materialistic things, yes.
And that's where I noticed I'm not like that. And obviously, like, if you're seeing it as like, I value material things and I value actual connection, like, there's nothing there for us to be, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing for us to really click on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Dang. I know, I'm like, I need my water. Hold on. How do you feel about that, chat? What is your opinion? Oh. I was like wondering why that one message was like highlighted.
Yeah.
But yeah. Damn. That was a good one. I didn't realize.
That was a good question.
Yeah. I'm like over here like, damn, what was I even talking about? I don't know. Chat says I'm in a relationship. She tells me about to communicate and I feel like I can, but if I fucked that up. And I feel like I can, but I still fear if they might not like it about me. What? I still fear if they might not like it about me.
So you're basically what you're saying is
your truth.
Like, so basically you're saying that they're telling you to open up to them, but you're worried because you feel like they're going to judge you? Yeah,
that's what it seems like. Get your point, but I'm learning about it.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say like...
I think it definitely even like... I don't want it to seem like self-righteous either. Like, obviously we went through things to get to a point of being like, hey, I just want people I can connect with deeply. You know, like it took a lot of like dealing with other stuff, dealing with people that value status or material or whatever, you know, to like get to a point where I'm like, actually, this is the type of people I want in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want it to seem like, oh, well, we get it. Like, we cracked the code. Like, that's not it. Like, I think everything is a progression. Like, we're always learning. You know, we're always trying to be better, at least hopefully.
Yeah. And I think, like, the piece of advice that I would give you, and I know this is maybe not what you want to hear, but, like, I feel like you just have to, like, be open about those things. Like, you have to, like... because at the end of the day, like I
once you're done, I have a thing.
You're like, probably, I know you probably like want to be in this relationship, but like if that person can accept even like the most quirky things about you, or like even the things that aren't so great about you. Like, I think I have a lot of things about me that I think are great, but I know I also have like a few things about me that probably aren't so great, that are things that I probably do need to work on. But like, I think you need to...
We're also human. So.
Yeah, like I think you need to find somebody that is willing to take the good and the bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody that accepts all of you, you know what I mean? The good and the bad parts, I guess, is like kind of, would be my advice.
I think one thing that blew my mind, it sounds so obvious too, but it's a different concept when you start to like apply it. But like, if, like I said, with that old friendship where I was like almost scared to like send that message because I wasn't sure how it would end up. It's almost like, but at the end, like I said, I was like almost upset that I didn't do it sooner, because I would have known, you know, and I wouldn't have wasted that time or that space or the energy on it. Mm-hmm. It's like, once you actually show who you are and you actually show up fully as you, like, and if you show up and that person is like, whoa, I don't like that, that just gives you more information to make a decision. You know what I mean? To be like, oh, instead of tiptoeing around it or trying to be this person or trying to keep up an image, like, as soon as you show up as you, you have more information to like make a decision or not. And I guess the easiest way I can describe this is if you're like starting to see somebody new or something like that in a relationship, and you're like, wow, I'm really scared to show them that I love video games or whatever, because I'm scared that they're gonna be like, oh, I don't know how you feel about video games. Like, if they were like, I can't stand that, at least now you know what I mean? And it's not a mystery. You're like, oh, actually video games is something that I love. This is something I'm never gonna give up because it's a part of me. Like, then you can make a decision. You know what I mean? But if you don't and you never like do that, then you'll never know. You know, and you'll always be kind of like in the back of your mind, like scared to go there. Yeah. You know, you'll be always be scared to like show that side, because you're like, ooh, I'm anxious about what's going to happen. And yeah, like all of that is like, makes sense. You know, like I totally understand that. Sometimes, you know, when you're with somebody, you're like, oh, I'm kind of scared to show them this side of me, you know? Yeah. And I think that's just normal. Yeah. Especially to be seen like that completely and be like vulnerable like that.
Yeah. So I think like what you're going through is completely normal. I think all of us experience that. I think it's just like taking that plunge to just go all in and be like, this is me as a person.
Yeah. Chad says, yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely scary, but it'll definitely always be worth it. Like if I never sent that text message to that friend back in the day, like I don't know what would be happening now, you know? Yeah. Maybe they'd still be around, maybe not, who knows? But at least now, you know, I know clear as day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what was happening there. Yeah. And there's no mistake, and there's no like, well, I don't know, I've never asked them, you know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I just think, I think that person, if they're really your person, like they have to accept those things about you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, my advice would be like just to go for it.
And this is kind of almost what we were talking about last night. And I don't know if this is your situation, so I'm not saying that it is. But we were in relationships, and we kind of talked about this in our last Just Chatting. Yeah. But we were in relationships longer than we should have been. And last night we were questioning, why do we do that? Like, why, even with that old friendship, we knew for a while that it wasn't really like...
For us.
Yeah, for us. I didn't want to say working, because I was like, that sounds... but we stayed and was like trying to give somebody the benefit of the doubt of like, oh, maybe they don't realize or whatever. And it almost comes out that every single time we have a thought or a feeling that like something isn't right or like not for us, it usually is true. So we were questioning last night, like, why did we stay so long in the relationships? And I think what we kind of talked about was like receiving love from somebody that's not your family or like your friends, you know, receiving love in that romantic sense is like hard to give up, you know, especially if it's like the first time or the first time that it's felt like you know, bigger or brighter or whatever, like it's harder to walk away and be like, you know what, you know, this was great at some point, but I think I've outgrown it or whatever. Like, I think that's always really tough.
Yeah. I think it is really hard to like walk away from those situations, especially because you really do care for that person.
Because it's not like you're saying like, hey, I don't care about you anymore, because that's not it. I don't think in either of our situations, even to this day, we would say, hey, I don't care about that person. Like, we still do. Like, you still shared time and life with this person. Like,
for a long time. And I think that's like what's interesting about relationships or full-on relationships is that like that person knows, like I said, everything about you. You know what I mean? And so
chat says, what are you doing fun with your partner in these COVID times, especially with being shut inside? Well, let it be known that both of us are single as Pringles. So
yes, yeah.
So
which I'm really like glad that that's the case. And you know, I think one thing about being in relationships in quarantine, right? Because this is something that we've seen before, but like, when you're in quarantine with somebody, it's like almost like a big eye opener, right? Because
should I spill? You spill.
Yeah. So it's a big eye opener, right? Because when you're not in quarantine and you're in a relationship, especially a new one, and you're not in quarantine, right? You have all of these outside things that are going to distract you from having that genuine connection with somebody. So you're going to have all these outside activities that are going to distract you from seeing what's truly there. So for example, before quarantine, if you were out and about, you could go to the movies, or you could go to this event or this thing or the farmer's market or on this date. And you think like, or this concert, and you think like, oh, okay, cool. Like I have all these things in common with this person. They're great. We have fun together. But with quarantine, once you take all that away and everything shut down, that's when it like really pulled the curtain back, right? And it was like, wait, if I take away the concerts and I take away the movies and I take away the dates and I take away all the outings, what do I really have in common with this person? Yeah. And I think for a lot of people in relationships in quarantine, that was a big eye opener. It was like, wait, now that I have to like be stuck inside with this person and we don't have all of these other extracurricular activities to distract us, now I'm realizing we actually don't have that much in common, and actually I don't really like you. You know what I mean? So I think that quarantine, to put that in short, I think quarantine has been a big eye opener because you've taken away all of those distractions, all the dates, all the outings, all the movies, concerts, whatever it is. And you're seeing that person for really honestly their most boring self. And I think if you can appreciate somebody in their most boring self and you're like, wow, you're boring,
but I still
really like spending time with you. Or you can be with the person, take out all those distractions and be like, wow, we took out all of these things and I still really want to be around you and I still really want to spend time with you. Though that's like a big eye opener.
Chad said grim. Girl. Yeah, I think something I used to hear a lot before, even, you know, I used to hear it years ago, is like, you really know if you can click with somebody if you like don't spend money together, if that makes any sense. Like, it's kind of that same thing. If like, if y'all can just be fucking bored together and y'all still vibe or whatever, then you'll know like y'all actually have something. Because when the distractions are there, you're like, ooh, gotta go to the latest movie, ooh, gotta do this, oh, gotta go to this party, gotta do this, you know.
It's convenient because if you're sitting there with your partner on the couch and you're like, oh, like, we're bored, let's go to the movies and do this thing, or let's go and do this thing. That almost like,
it's almost like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like a blessing and a curse, you know? It's like, ooh, cool, got out of that. Like I was saying, it's like the quicker you know this, the less, like, I would say, like, painful it is, you know? Like, if you knew all this stuff in the beginning and were like, hey, actually, we don't have anything in common, then you probably wouldn't spend months on end with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think at that point, once you have memories stacked up and you've met all the friends and the family, that's where it gets, like, tough, you know? That's where it becomes sticky, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Definitely single, though.
Yeah, single now.
Yeah.
But yeah, quarantine, I think, opened the eyes up for a lot of people.
Yeah. And some people went, like, the opposite direction and were like, you know what, let's get married.
Yeah.
Or have a baby or whatever, you know?
Yeah, some people were like, you know what, actually, let's just, like, do the thing.
Yeah.
You know, since we don't really have anything else to do.
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
great for some people.
Great for some people, I guess.
Not shading them, just being like, oh, I hope you don't just marry somebody because you're bored.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever. But, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Yeah. I don't know. As for us, I feel like as friends in quarantine, we've definitely got on the Twitch. I don't know if it's a train, you know, but we definitely got on Twitch. And that's been actually exciting for both of us, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, exciting, and also, like, I don't want to say distraction, but we also have, like, something to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we're always trying to, like, make it a little bit better, or make it a little more exciting, or try to find, like, a new game to play. You know what I mean? Like, there's always, like, something to be done. Yeah. Not in a way where it's, like, exhausting, but it's, like, you know, like, sometimes it is nice to take your mind off of, like, finding a relationship to, like, let's do the hobby. You know what I mean? Let's do something else that doesn't really have to deal with, like, that right now.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's always nice to not always focus on one thing. Because that's kind of like what we were talking about last night. Is like when you focus on one thing, your mind just kind of goes off. You know?
Yeah.
If you have nothing else to be like, okay, I'm going to put that down right now. I'm going to go here. You know, like you can kind of like start, you know, the gears in your brain, and it just keeps going and going and going. And sometimes that's productive, but sometimes it's not. So.
Yeah. I agree. Oh, man.
I know. What a journey.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know that that's where that was going.
Yeah, I know.
But man, loved it.
Yeah, I loved the questions. Like, that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think relationships right now are just weird in general.
Yeah.
And
especially
I think,
if you wanted to start one. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the best thing to do is just like be as open and raw with that person as you can, because at this point, like,
yeah,
you know, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
But yeah. Man.
How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm like, I was a little tired. It's 3:33 right now.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess we came on here to kind of chat about just life and friends and like relationships and how things are going in quarantine. I mean, I think like it's weird to think like what's going to happen after quarantine, because it's like also it's kind of like after quarantine you spent so much time not seeing all these people and you're like, wait,
what is it like to be around people again?
Yeah. It's weird. Like, are we going to know how to act?
Are we going to know how to act?
I don't think that I will.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like and I think about this a lot, is like I feel like it's totally different from pre-quarantine, you know, like,
yeah.
And that's what I was telling you last night, is if somebody told me right now that I'd be on Twitch and then my life outside of Twitch would be like the way that it is, I'd be like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I'm over here like debating tattoos. I'm like, is it cool to get a hand tattoo? If I go back to work, are they gonna be like weird about it?
I know.
Remember I told you I was like, I'm gonna come back with a bunch of tattoos and be like, I'm already hired.
Yeah, I
know. So I don't know, maybe this is like the time. You already dyed your hair twice?
Yeah, three times really. Yeah.
So it's like, and that's one thing you couldn't do before, really.
Yeah, like at my old job. I guess when I got my new job, I just never did it, and now it was like the time for me to do it. Yeah, but
yeah. What's your most exciting highlight from quarantine that's happened? Like, what? I guess, yeah. What's a highlight / what are you most proud of?
I think quarantine has really made me more aware of like, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without it sounding like weird. It's made me like kind of realize how to be even more authentic than, because the thing that's weird is that like quarantine, a lot of shit has popped off in quarantine, like especially in America. Like, you know, I mean, there has been no shortage of drama. And now at this point, it's like nothing can really shock us. Like, I mean, we have a hurricane coming in like 2 days that could possibly just wipe us out. And we're just like, at this point, like,
just do it.
Yeah.
Maybe not do it. But like at this point, it's like nothing can really like shock my nervous system like that, you know?
Yeah. Like it's almost like I have no ability to be like,
yeah.
Like what?
I'm
you
like,
know?
I feel like I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so what are you, chat says, what are your jobs if you're comfortable to share? I make maps for a living for oil and gas companies. Not something I'm super proud of because I'm like, I would consider myself to be super liberal, but considering that we're in Houston, that's like,
yeah, we're in like the energy, oil and gas capital of the United States. So I mean, really that's like 50% of the jobs here are oil and gas. So it's not very uncommon to come across somebody that's in some sort of oil and gas industry job. For me, I work for a company that basically does like digital and physical like photo gifts and like customization things. It's basically like a photography company that also does like photo gifts and like other customizing things. It's a very popular company.
Chat says America is seriously an entertaining country, especially with Trump. Yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah, don't. I mean, like
that boy is something.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah, it's definitely there's no shortage of drama. That's for sure.
That's the one. That's how you talk about it.
Yeah, there's no shortage of drama. But honestly, if I'm being completely honest, it's drama that I could definitely fucking live without.
Yeah.
So, gosh.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be an interesting year.
I think that also goes into our, like, at this rate, nothing can shock me. You know?
Yeah,
I'm like,
I know.
Wow.
Like, I mentioned very shortly on the stream last night how he was trying to ban TikTok from America, and now TikTok is fighting back, which honestly, I'm very shocked that TikTok would do that. But I'm kind of like, good for them.
Chad says, I've been watching a lot of Twitch debates. Do they have debates on here? Or are you talking about like us like debating on like political stuff?
Huh.
I know, right? We're over here. We're very new still, so we're like, what do you do?
Wow.
I know. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Wait, so what was your highlight? You said you've become more authentic?
Yeah, like, or I feel like I've I feel like I've learned so much in quarantine. Almost like that's more what I mean is like I feel like I've gathered so much I've had the time to gather so much information, and I feel like I'm gonna come out of quarantine like such a different person.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Chat says you guys or people there are very opinionated on some topics. Yeah, I feel like definitely us, but I feel like our political, like, I don't know, I feel like usually we're really into it, but like as of lately we haven't really been into it, just because I'm not gonna lie, like both of us, especially me, I feel like I've been in a like bubble of my own. Like for a little while there I was like, let me get off of socials for a second, and then I feel like I'm trying to get reacclimated to the world again. Chad says, yeah, like Destiny or Trainwreck TV on Twitch. I've never seen them, but I should check them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at it.
There's literally a handful of people I probably watch on Twitch.
Yeah. But like I've been trying to find like more people, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to look.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Americans are very opinionated about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I think that's just like part of our culture in general that's been like established.
Kinda,
It's like, oh, we can just say whatever we want, and like, you know, and I think that that's just how like a lot of people are.
Their debates are fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet they are. Like, debates are interesting. Like, and I think, like, is that just like, we have debates all the time in America. Is that like just an American thing to do? Like, do other countries not have debates? Like, that's kind of an interesting thing.
They said it's a rabbit hole, though.
Yeah. Is it? Man, I don't know. Like, debates are interesting. Like, especially, like, I think that we can both get very passionate about politics, and I try not to watch debates because I feel like they're just gonna like really irritate me.
Yeah, you know? I used to.
And I don't know how it is for other countries. Like, I think, like, maybe it's entertaining for other countries to watch them because you're like, it's almost like
a TV show.
It's almost like a TV show because I don't want to say it doesn't affect you, but it's almost like you're like, wow, it's interesting to like look into this and like
being able to step away.
Well, it's kind of almost like watching reality TV almost.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to really bother me, I think. And to the point where people would be like, why are you so bothered? And it would be because I was so like passionate. And there had to be kind of like a stopping point at some point.
Yeah.
They said we have it, but we're busy watching American debates. I don't blame you. It's a mess out here.
Yeah, it's crazy out here in these streets.
Yeah, it's crazy out here in these streets.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to watch them, honestly, because I'll just get like really irritated.
Yeah,
so I
think what happened is my like hope for better like stopped as soon as Trump got elected, and then I was like, wow, I can't believe that just happened, you know? Like, yeah, I don't know. It
kind of like you like almost lost faith a little bit.
Yeah, that's what it was. I lost a lot of the faith that I had. And I'm not saying I lost faith in like Americans as people. I'm just like, it was just so big in my life, and then I was like, wow, I just got so disappointed, and I was like, I need to like step away for a little bit, which is in its own thing, its own problem. Trust me, I've looked at it, but it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, and it's almost like I think with the way, and I think the way we both kind of have been, which maybe isn't the best, I don't know, is like at this point I'm like, I don't want to get my hopes up. You know what I mean? At this point, like, I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh, like, you know, we got to kick Trump out of office, and like, but at this point it's like I'm so tired of being like disappointed, and this is going to come out very opinionated, but it's almost like he's a cockroach, and it almost feels like there's nothing
that's going to kill it.
That's going to kill him. Like,
you're like what is that thing where like the earth like floods and then all the like roaches are actually still there. Yeah,
and I don't mean like physically kill, but I just mean like it's almost like you think like
this situation is beyond, I think, one person. It's more than one person can do on their own.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like
it's a lot to carry too.
Yeah, and it's just shocking to me.
I saw a debate yesterday about pro-life, pro-choice people, and the woman on pro-choice side was like a president of some pro-choice alliance. I was thinking there could be anything that would change her mind. Even if it does, she would probably be in denial. Well, yeah, that's the thing too. It's almost like talking politics with people is like pulling teeth. Like they don't. It's one thing when somebody's like, yeah, okay, change my mind about it, and they're open. But it's another thing when they're like, no, like, you will not change my mind. And I'm like, okay, then there's no point in arguing. Like, I don't know. That's kind of my point.
And I think that's where I find it difficult for debates, because I'm like,
I'm not going to sit here and get red in the face for you to just be like, no. I'm wasting my breath.
Yeah.
It's one thing. Yeah. If you're open to receiving and you want to have like a calm debate about it, then yeah, but I'm not gonna be up in arms about it. Basically, what I feel is, can a debate change their mind, if ever? Yeah, I don't know. It just depends on. Some people just don't want to change their mind. Some people have been raised a certain way, and it's beyond me. Like, it's not really like. And let's be honest, it's not my job to change everybody's like point of view, and it's not. I can't be walking around the world being like, everybody has to be like me. Yeah. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not your job to change everybody. Now, you can give your opinion. You can maybe like give information, give resources to say like, hey, here are some interesting things you may want to look at. Yeah. But you can't force somebody to read those things. You can't force somebody to watch those videos. Like, they have to be wanting to do that research and be open to that different perspective for themselves. You know?
Definitely.
It's very interesting. Like, I was actually just having that conversation with my dad the other day. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah. This like past Sunday. I was having that conversation with him, and he was like, yeah, like, I remember that you used to have like very conservative like views. And I was like,
wow, he came for you.
Yeah. And I was like, oh no, I didn't even tell you about that. But I was like, I was attacked. But basically,
news to me.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. But like, basically,
you're like already blocking it out of your mind.
Yes, I was already like. But basically, he was like, "Oh," and they brought it up, and I was like, "Oh," which makes me think that they had a conversation about it at some point after I had left.
Chat says, but for that lady, what if she changed her mind? What happens to that alliance? People would probably fire her.
Well, yeah, but they would just find somebody else to replace her.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah, they would just find somebody else to replace her.
They'd be like, hey, we have this thing built, kick her out. Like,
they'd be like, oh, well, she's canceled anyway.
They probably have a board somewhere. They're like, let's make a vote.
Well, and that's the thing about Americans, is that they're so quick to...
Oh, my God. Put somebody on the stake.
Like... Somebody's your friend until they're not. You know what I mean? Like, if that woman was like the president of this organization...
Everybody's friends with you as long as they can get something.
Yeah, and so if she was, hypothetically, if she was the leader of this organization and she changed her mind, then that same organization that she was the president of would turn around and attack her and say, oh, well, she did this, she did that, probably like to try to discredit her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's like the game that everyone plays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean.
So, I mean, yeah,
at some point you got to be like, like you have to, I don't know. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that like, and in America that happens all the time.
Yeah.
People get fired for doing things, and then somebody else just takes their place. Like, and that's why I don't think those types of organizations would ever get dismantled or ever go away. So
what happened with your parents?
So basically, he was like, "Oh, I remember you used to have very conservative views," and I was basically like, "Well, yeah, but I can also change my mind. Like, and I can also like." Change my opinion.
Yeah.
And then
were you like, I also lived here?
Yeah. So like I kind of got into that. And then you know what he said? He tried to throw my mom under the bus, and he was like, oh yeah, like, I still love you, and I respect you and like your opinions. And he was like, now your mom, on the other hand, I don't know. So you know what I did? So you know what I did?
What happened?
Guess what I did?
How many drinks in were y'all?
Only like 2 or 3. This was very not.
So you said, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what I did. I turned around and I said, Liz. Come over here. I said, you know what he just said? I said, basically, he said that you have a problem with me. And she's like, what do you mean?
She said, you said you want to fight or something? She said,
yeah.
what?
I was like, so apparently he said that you don't like me because I'm a liberal. And she was like, that's not what I said. And she would like looked at him like, that's not true. And I was like, did you or did you not just tell me that you said that she has a problem with it? Mm-hmm. And he was like, I did say that. Oh. And she was like, well, that's not true. And then they were like, oh, you know that we like still like love you and we respect like, you know, like I don't have any problem with you. And I said, and I don't have any problem with you. I said, having your opinion. And I was like, my opinion's different than yours. I don't have a problem with you having that opinion. And I said, and you shouldn't have a problem with me having my opinion. I said, you mind your business and I'll mind my business. And they were like, and then they made a joke and they were like, yeah, no, yeah, you can have your opinion, but just don't vote. And I was like,
oh,
yeah, it was like a whole thing. And I said, oh, well, I already did that. So sorry about it.
Wild. Spicy.
So yeah, it was like, I was like a little too late for that. Sorry.
Yeah. Chat said probably the debates are for people watching to change their minds. Oh yeah, definitely. And that's another problem is like media.
Well, I also think that, you know, they're informative like for people. It's like, because I think the point of debates, because, you know, obviously in America we have like two pretty split parties, and so like you have debates between all of the people that in theory think the same way. And then you have a debate over here with all these people that in theory think the same way.
That seems to be a through line for
and
this
then
whole...
again, it's narrowed down to the two people that don't think the same way. So I think those are informative. I think they do those because they're informative for people, because it's like, if I'm a liberal, let me watch this Democratic debate because I need to figure out whose ideas I align with the most.
Yeah.
So I think the debates are more informative than anything. It's like, okay, well, let me like
get it from the source.
It's somebody asking a question and then everybody's answering that question on their opinion. So it's like, it's basically you as like somebody that's going to vote. You're like, which person do I like the answer? Yeah. Whose answer do I like the best? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of how you determine who you like vote for. So I do think that they're essential. Like, I think that they're good. But I don't like to watch them because I feel like they're just going to get on my nerves. So I just choose to do like my own research off the debate. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, that's just me.
Dang.
You know, because I also feel like debates are all talk. You know what I'm saying? All these people, they're up here and they're talking about politics, but they're all trying to sell themselves.
Yeah.
So they're going to answer questions. Like, we hear things all the time about the prepping for debates. Like, it's just like prepping for like a court hearing or something. Like, they know what they're going to say. They intentionally take digs at other people. Like, I think, which is interesting to watch, but I don't think it's that informative because it's all talk. It's like, yeah, you can sit up here and say, I'm fighting for this and I'm fighting for this and this is my opinion on this and this is my opinion on this. But to me, actions speak louder than words. If you're going to stand up at a podium and say, oh yeah, I support gay rights, but then I look at an article 10 years ago from you talking about how you think conversion therapy is acceptable, then I'm like, so you're basically just trying to sell me on you. You know what I mean? And I'm not, and I'll say who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. But like, it's like, don't sit up here and tell me that you're an advocate for gay people when there's all this evidence of you talking shit years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just debates are fresh. And that's my point from earlier, to give some context. That's why debates are frustrating for me. Because to touch on what we were talking about earlier, we're very into people that are like, just tell me the thing. Like, just be honest, just be upfront with me. And I think debates, they're just going to say whatever they can say to try to pull people in. Yeah, win you over.
Yeah.
But that's just politics in general. Like,
yeah.
Whew. Man. Wow.
You had a little moment there. I was like, snaps for you.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, I was like, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
This was a cute little talk show table edition.
Yeah.
Last time we were at the coffee table and it was not comfortable. So
yeah, this was a little better.
We moved on over.
Yeah, this was a little better.
Yeah, but. Man. We had a great time today. This was interesting. I honestly didn't expect any of this.
Yeah, I really didn't either.
I feel like what we came on here to say, we got into it, and actually, like, this was like a good reroute, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, cool. But what else? We're probably, the next time that we stream, hi. Someone said nice pink hair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool chatting with you guys. Same for you. It was actually really, really fun. It was nice to have people like interact and ask questions. At first they said nice pink here, and then they said not your ear. Yeah, I got you though. We got you.
It was good chatting with you guys.
I'm definitely gonna have to watch this back because I'm like, oh my god.
I know. I feel like we were just like rambling.
Yeah, no, but it was good. I feel like it was still like the point was still there, you know?
I know.
Awesome. John, thanks for the follow.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Yeah, next time we stream, we'll probably definitely be finishing Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yes, yeah. We're going to finish the entire game. So
and that'll probably be like Friday.
Yes, yeah, this Friday we're going to finish Luigi's Mansion. It should be really good. It should be a really good time. Yeah. It'll be special cuz we're going to like finish it up.
Yeah. We thought about bringing a black light out, but it didn't really work.
What did it say? What does it say?
No, already seen it. Already seen what? Luigi's Mansion 3 or our last thing?
Yeah, I'm confused.
I'm like, let me know. I'm confused. But yeah, we'll probably be finishing Luigi's Mansion 3. We're still debating on what game we want to play next. So if you guys have any suggestions, like we're up for suggestions. We thought about playing Snipper Clips, which is like a cute multiplayer game. Yeah. And actually, no one on Twitch is playing it, so it's very weird. We're like, I think we found our in. But we're also debating like another story mode type game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But we'll maybe we'll try to decide by Friday.
Yeah, maybe like that'll be good. Maybe we'll have a decision by Friday on what we're going to play next at the end of that stream.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still I'm like, now my interest is piqued. What did you already see?
Yeah,
I need to know.
I need to know.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it's always nice having these like podcast-esque like conversations.
Yeah. And you know why I think it's nice to have them? It's because when we're not doing these just chattings and we're playing the game, I think especially in the story modes one, we can get so into the game.
Yeah.
That like we almost like zone out, you know what I mean, sometimes. So it's like it's nice just to be able to like sit here and like actually chat, without the distraction of like playing the game.
And plus like I said, we have these chats even just amongst ourselves, but then we'll end them and be like, wow, that could have been a whole post or a whole stream or a whole whatever, and we're like, I'm sure other people want to like talk about this, and you know what I mean. And it is like funner to have like the live aspect because you do get to like chat back and forth.
Yeah,
so there is that.
I agree.
We're gonna have to figure out what that is next time, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. All right, guys, well, it's been real, it's been fun. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Yeah. Last stream, Luigi's Mansion 3. Be there or be square.
Yes.